Welcome back to Savage Hack. So today we're going to be talking about something that a lot of people actually aren't really aware of unless you're in the cyber community, right? So it's called cross-site scripting. So this is going to be geared more towards your penetration testers or students that are trying to learn a little bit more about the offensive things or offensive side of cybersecurity. But I'm also going to try to break it down at a low level so that even the most techie person can kind of understand what's going on here. So as a pen tester, understanding cross-site scripting is definitely crucial, right? So cross-site scripting vulnerabilities always arise when web applications fail to sanitize their user input. They allow attackers to inject malicious JavaScript that executes on the client side. So this can lead to various attacks from stealing session cookies to tricking the user into performing unintended actions. So while cross-site scripting primarily impacts the client side and doesn't really directly affect the server, its high prevalence makes it a significant threat. So, as a pen tester, as an offensive security person, you'll frequently encounter cross site scripting vulnerabilities, and understanding exactly how to exploit and mitigate them is key to securing web applications. So, there are three different types of cross site scripting. You have your stored cross site scripting, which this is the most critical, right? Uh, this is where the malicious inputs are stored on the server itself and then served out to other users later. Very dangerous stuff right there. The second one is reflected cross-site scripting or XSS. I refer to cross-site scripting as XSS, vice versa. That's just the abbreviation for it. So reflected XSS, this is going to occur when input is immediately reflected on the page without being actually stored. And then the third is the DOM-based XSS, where the input is processed entirely on the client side, often within the browser's DOM. And if you're not familiar with this terminology, please feel free to do a quick Google search. I'm not going to completely dive into everything as I go. So if you are new to this, completely fine. You don't necessarily have to pick up on all the terminology right away. Feel free to Google at your own time, own pace with that. So within your pen testing work, you'll see cross-site scripting across many applications, including major platforms. It's affected Twitter, Google, MySpace back in the day. So knowing how to identify and exploit these vulnerabilities are not only going to help you within your assessments, but it's also going to help whoever you're doing the pen test for as well. So in upcoming videos, even past this one, I'll break each one down a little bit further. I'm going to go through hands-on today, kind of going through all of them. I may not dive into everything perfectly, but that's okay. Rome wasn't built in a day. Our skills aren't going to be completely all the way up there in one day. Plus, it would take forever. So got Kelly Linux pulled up here. I'm actually using Hack the Box. Or excuse me, Hack the Box Academy. So they actually have a lot of different modules on their academy. So I pulled up the cross-site scripting one specifically, so that I could already have labs and everything pulled up. That way, I wouldn't have to spin up my own VMs, waste my time or resources when it's already there, right? So we'll just use what they have today and kind of go through it. So let me pull this up. And we have my screen shared here. I've already connected to their VPN, so I already have an IP address, as you can see up there. Let me go ahead and zoom in just a little bit if I can. Oops, wrong button. There we go. And that'll work. No, why is it moving? Make it stop. Okay, all right, yep. All right, so as you can see, it has a user input field here. It says to-do list, your task. So we'll do, I don't know, wash the car, right? So that's going to be on my to-do list. Reset, nothing happens. Okay. Let me see if I can add it to anything. Wash the car. Hit enter. Okay, now we have our list. So I accidentally hit reset. All I had to do was hit enter. So what else? Go grocery shopping. We'll add that and then walk the dog, right? Okay, so we have our little list of things to do there, right? So it's a pretty straightforward application. You input what you want in your list, you press enter, and it creates a list for you of things to do. Now, let me pull up the hack the box portion. So what we're going to go over now with this box that you're seeing here. So this is going to be stored cross-site scripting that I'm going to demonstrate first. Remember, stored is the one that where things are actually stored on the server itself and distributed out to other users. Very, very bad. You don't want this, right? So it is the most critical. A lot of people call it persistent cross-site scripting just because it is stored there. And so it has that persistence to keep sending out all of that bad stuff to end users whenever they visit that server. All right, so we'll kind of go through here. We have some cross-site scripting testing payloads. Generally, what you'll see here whenever anybody first goes to test a website for cross-site scripting, they'll use a script similar to this one. Where as you can see, let me zoom in a little bit here. Hopefully it'll stop doing that. I don't know why it's moving around like that. It's kind of giving me a headache. So maybe I won't zoom in. So as you can see there, it says uh, open scripts. It has an alert and then window origin and then close script, right? So let me zoom back out so it stops doing that. So this is just a test payload. It doesn't have anything malicious in it. It's just gonna essentially pop open a window, an alert window, whenever you go to do this. A lot of times you'll see alert, and then people will have like the number one, just like that, so that another box is gonna pop open with a warning, an alert, and it'll say number one within inside of there. So if that does work and it pops open, that means there is some kind of cross-site scripting there. You need to find out whether it is stored, reflective, etc. So I'll actually just use the number one there anyway, rather than the other. Actually, I'll use both, right? So I'll go ahead and test this one first. We go ahead and hit enter. And you see how this alert box pops up now? It didn't do that whenever I typed in normal text, right? So it also has the one that I input there that I was telling you about. So that means cross-site scripting does exist within this site. There is a vulnerability there. How far we can go, that's something we'll have to continue to test on. So now let me add in the one that hacked the box included, which was the alert window original or origin, excuse me. Let me go ahead and hit enter. And same thing. Well, it's still popping up with the one, so it's still reading the other thing that I had. There we go. Okay. So yeah, it pops up with this origin box here. It tells you exactly what the website is that we're located at. You can opt to, don't show that prompt again, but we'll just click OK to get out of it. So we definitely know there is a vulnerability here. We just don't know how far we can go with its access, right? So we definitely did get the alert. Like I said, so that page is vulnerable to cross-site scripting since both of our payloads executed successfully. Now, moving along here, we can try other kind of cross-site scripting payloads. So, what Hack the Box is having us do is to uh, what does it say? To get the flag, we have to use the same payload we used above, but change the JavaScript code to show the cookie instead of showing the URL. Oh boy. I probably should have read through this first, but I haven't done this. So we're all going to learn together, which is a good thing. So we did our basic payload. Uh, let's see what other kind of payloads we can do here. One second. I'm trying to pull up all of the information that I need. Oh, another thing that I needed to show you, actually. Let me go to view page source here. And where is it? So we have our to-do list here. And then we also have our script that was inputted there as well, which you can see there. All right, let me go back. Now let me pull up all of this stuff from Hack the Box. Let me read through this for a moment. So apparently we can do different things too. Like for instance, if we wanted to change the background image on this, we could input this script, which is hard to see. Let me go ahead and open a file so that you can see it better. So we open up the script, we have the document body background equals, and then the URL for Hack the Box images, the logo for Hack the Box, the SVG file, and then we close out the script. So we will run that, hit enter. There we go, hit enter. Okay, it's going to go through our cross-site scripting again because it's still stored on the server. And you see that that's pretty amazing. It popped up and changed the actual website background. So if this were your website that I was connected to, and you had that cross-site scripting vulnerability, I could literally change your background just with a simple command like that. Now it's pretty scary, right? So this is why sanitation is so important with any kind of user input. Even on my website at savagehack.com, I limit the user input. I mean, I even have a web application firewall running for everything to monitor everything, but I don't want to take that risk, and I don't really have a need for people to type things in there, right? If anybody wants to reach me, they can always, reach out to me on social media, or they can send me an email. But my website, I usually try to limit that specifically because of this, right? Like it's just another attack surface that I've pretty much eliminated. Uh, so yeah, it would be pretty scary if somebody just went on there and just started running some random scripts and just changed my background, changed other things on there. So we can actually load a remote script. We can send cookie details to us. Actually, let me go ahead and pull up this command. So with this, our source for that new image, so it thinks it's uploading new image, right? Or sending out one. So we'll input our IP address and then have the document and cookie in there. So what is our IP address? It's up here, so it's 10.10.16.2. Oh, I didn't have numlock enabled. Thought I was doing something wrong. All right. What did I say it was? 10. Uh, try this again. There we go. 10.10.16.2. If you ever start typing like that and you realize you're typing over everything as it goes, just hit that insert button. Uh, I forget the name of it and why it does that, but just hit that insert button and it'll go back to normal to where you can actually add in spaces and stuff like that and actually type in rather than eliminating everything that you're typing over. All right. Now let's see here. Something's going on with my site. Let me reload that page. There we go. All right. Now I need to run a server, a web server. So Python 3, if I can type today, -m HTTP server. So we're running on port 8000. Let me go ahead and add in port 8000. Oops. Copy that script and let this run. Oh yeah, it's going to go through all of our many things there. Oops, that's the wrong one. Okay, so as you can see here, we actually got the flag here now. That's kind of funny. Uh, that script that we ran reached out to the web server that I created here with this Python HTTP simple server here, running on port 8000. So the fact that I could reach out from this website to download stuff off of my own machine, very, very scary. You definitely don't want that to occur because I could essentially upload whatever I wanted onto your website. Easy backdoor. I mean, I could have done the same thing and caught in a reverse shell had I sent command for a reverse shell, but yeah, pretty cool. So we actually got our flag here that it was looking for. So I'll go ahead and copy that and paste it. I know I'm not sharing the hack the box screen right now. It's just a little difficult transferring back and forth between screens. Completely fine, but the whole point of this was to kind of demonstrate exactly how the stored cross-site scripting would work. As you can see, let me go ahead and refresh all of this. As you can see, the background is still changed even after I refreshed this. So that means that is very, very permanent, very, very persistent, I should say. It's not just, a simple HTML edit where you can, come in here and change like wording, right? So where it says like walk the dog, I could come in here and change it to like walk the cat, but that's only temporary, right? If we go to inspect, let me see, where is it? There we go. So let's say you wanted to temporarily change, walk the dog to walk the cat. It changed to walk the cat, but this is only temporary, right? So as soon as I hit this refresh, it goes back to walk the dog. But you notice what didn't change was that background that we changed, right? So let me go ahead and submit that flag. Submit. Congratulations, I earned 2 cubes. Nice. All right, so just a little recap there. We went over stored cross-site scripting, which again is that persistent cross-site scripting, probably the most critical because it actually stores things on that server. So definitely dangerous, definitely something to keep an eye out for, whether you're on the offensive or defensive side of things, or you're not even in security and you own a website, right? Always try to limit that user input, sanitize that user input if it is necessary. All right, so the next one we're going to look at is reflected cross-site scripting. So with this, the reflective side, vulnerabilities are going to occur when our input reaches the backend server and gets returned to us without being filtered or sanitized. There are many cases in which our entire input might, get returned to us, such as like the error messages that we saw that I actually demonstrated just then. Confirmation messages. In those cases, we may attempt using the cross-site scripting payloads to see whether they actually execute. However, these are usually more temporary messages. So once we move from the page, just like how I demonstrated, it's not like they're gonna execute again. So that's why this one's not non-persistent, right? The other one was very persistent. So this one right here is very persistent because everything's running again, right? So I have to resend. We get our alert messages over and over again, but not with reflected. If I were to do this with reflected, none of that stuff is going to pop open again. So let me go ahead and spawn the next target machine. I'll wait for an IP address with that, and then we'll kind of dive into the reflected cross-site scripting. We can get that IP address. I will copy that. And let's check this out. Let's see what they got for us. Huh, same thing, right? Oh, this time it has add instead of refresh. That's nifty. All right, so what did I say? Walk the dog could not be added. Let me try clicking add. Nope. Test. Okay. I don't know why it's not adding, but actually, let me read what they have here. Oh, okay, so that is to be normal. So it's just an error message. Completely fine. All right. So I mean, as you can see here, we get the result, the task test could not be added. So it does include our input of using test, or let's type in payload. So it includes the actual word payload that we typed in, right? So because it's showing up on the screen there, we know we can actually test for cross-site scripting. It may not 100% be there, but it's definitely something to look into, especially if you're able to get words that you or characters that you've typed to show up somewhere either on the screen or whoops, wrong thing, or within the page source here, right? So now it's in the actual source code. So breaking out of this, terminating uh, what is the word I'm looking for? So terminating any kind of input there to start like another line or more code is something that we can definitely look at, something that we definitely want to try. So let me close all this real quick. All right, let's see here. So we'll go ahead and try that same payload again, that Windows origin. So it's going to pop up with that alert. Let me copy that and paste it. All right, so we're going to be using this script right here. So it's just going to be an alert, just like you saw in the last one. So we'll go ahead and run that. All right, we have our alert. Now, with the stored cross-site scripting, we hit refresh and it popped up again. So with this, oh, it did pop up again. Wait, wait, wait. Oh, that's because I'm refreshing with the, I'm an idiot. There we go. I was refreshing with the actual script in there. That was my fault. But same concept. Even with the stored cross-site scripting, even if you went back to the main page itself, it's still going to have that background, right? Which I mean, hell, I can let me go back to it just to show you. I have to spawn the target again, so we'll try this here and again. All right, copy, and let's go to the stored cross-site scripting. Cool. Oh, whoops, don't need that. Let me grab this. Boom, enter. All right. You see how the last one had, equal sign or the question mark, equal sign, and then the actual script, right? Whenever I was clicking refresh. This one obviously doesn't have it because it's stored, so it doesn't need it uh, upon refresh, right? So resend, right? So we're just at that index.php, and that's what's going to pop up every time. Now back to the reflected cross-site scripting page. I have to spawn the target here again. This may take a moment. Oh, there we go. Pretty quick. Let's go. Nope. Come on. Uh-oh. Let's try this again. Let me try a different one. Hey, there we go. Now, whoops, wrong. Man, I keep doing this. So we'll take that payload, put it back in there, run that payload, we get our pop-up. But as you can see up here, we have the PHP question mark task equals, and then our actual payload. Right? So with the other one, yeah, I mean, if we keep reloading it with the payload in there, it's going to keep popping up with that alert. But if we just go to the index.php, the alert is not there, right? So it's not actually being stored on the server. All right, to get the flag, use the same payload we used above, but change its JavaScript code to show the cookie instead of showing the URL. Interesting. Oh, I guess they had some scripts that they had used up above. So we'll go ahead and copy the script that they have. Now, Hack the Box Academy is highly useful for this type of stuff. So if you are going along through this and you're taking notes with Hack the Box, like it's freaking phenomenal. A lot of this stuff you're not going to remember, like a lot of the specific commands, a lot of this, specific payloads you're not going to remember. You could spend, hours googling things. Not really necessary if you keep your own notes. Highly recommend using Notion.so. I'm not paid by them or anything like that, but I absolutely love their product. It is amazing. It helped me get through OSCP and some of the other certs that I've taken. Uh, Really, really awesome, versatile tool to use for note taking specifically. Anyway, so we will need to put in our IP address, which is 10.10.16.2, and we are still running on port 8000. Oh, that's 800, 8000. Let me try this. We still have our server running. Oh man, it keeps hitting. It's funny. Oh, yeah, it kept hitting because we went back to it and kept refreshing. Makes sense. So we'll try this. We'll see if it hits. And look at that, it hit. So we have our flag. Go ahead and copy that. I'll paste it in there. Submit. Another 2 cubes. Beautiful. All right. So yeah, just to recap again, the reflected cross-site scripting isn't nearly as critical due to the fact that it's only really, I mean, cross-site scripting only really affects the browser anyway. However, with the stored cross-site scripting, you are storing things on the server that is going to reflect for anybody else that comes along to that server. Uh, Reflected, as you can see, anytime we just reset or refresh the original page, none of this is going to be there again. So anybody just accessing the normal site, they're not going to have that. Whoops, I hit refresh instead of. So if somebody new comes along to the site, they're not going to have any of that stuff showing. None of that's going to happen. But the vulnerability is there. It's just non-persistent. So let's move along to the last one, which is the DOM cross-site scripting. So DOM cross-site scripting is another non-persistent cross-site scripting. So while Reflected sends the input data to the backend server through the HTTP request, DOM cross-site scripting is completely processed on the client side through JavaScript. So DOM cross-site scripting occurs when uh, JavaScript is used to change the page source through the document object model DOM. Uh, so we'll go ahead and spin up a server, and I'll kind of run through that real quick. Man, these servers are spinning up pretty fast. Oh, it's the same server. It just keeps using different ports. Never mind. Eh, all right. So the web app that that we have here has an example of DOM XSS. Uh, so we can try. We tried our test item, which was walk the dog. So it shows up on the actual web page itself. However, if we open the network tab, so we'll go to inspect network, and then reload. As you can see, walk the dog is still there, but no HTTP requests were made for that. If we were to go back to the reflected one, you would actually see an HTTP request for whatever the script was that we input there. All right, what else do they want us to look at? All right, so to further understand the exact nature of DOM-based cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, we have to understand the concept of source and sink. So the source is essentially the JavaScript object that takes the user input, and it can be input, or it can be any input parameter like a URL parameter or an input field, kind of like what we see here. On the other hand, the sync is the function that is going to write the user input to a DOM object on the page. So if the sync function doesn't properly sanitize the user input, it would be vulnerability or it would be vulnerable to cross-site scripting. Some of the commonly used JavaScript functions to write DOM objects are the document.write, DOM enter HTML, and then DOM outer HTML. Uh, some of the jQuery library functions that write to DOM objects include the add, after, and append uh, functions. So if a sync function writes the exact input without any sanitation, and no other means of sanitation are going to be used, then we know that the page should be vulnerable to cross-site scripting. All right, so a quick, easy way to kind of describe DOM. So imagine the DOM as a tree structure that your browser uses to understand and display a web page. So normally, cross-site scripting attacks involve injecting malicious code that goes into the server and then back to your browser. But DOM cross-site scripting is different. Everything happens right in your browser. So here's how it works, right? The web page has some JavaScript that changes the content and behavior based on the user input, like what you type in a search box or a URL bar. Now, if the JavaScript isn't careful and doesn't check exactly what you're entering, an attacker can sneak some harmful code in there. This malicious code runs directly in your browser without ever touching the server. It could possibly steal your data, mess with what you see, or do other nasty stuff, all because the web page didn't properly handle the input. So, in short, DOM cross-site scripting is a client-side attack that manipulates how your browser processes a web page. So definitely always be cautious on what you click on. This could be something that somebody just sends you in an email. You open up the web page by clicking on it. It has a cross-site scripting script in there for your web browser specifically, and then you're typing in credentials when you really shouldn't be. You could be redirected to another site. All kinds of things, right? The sky's kind of the limit when this vulnerability is available and active. So always be cautious on anything that you click on. And if you're on the pen testing side of things, I highly recommend checking out this Hack the Box Academy to kind of dive deeper into cross-site scripting as a whole. So that was quick little demonstration on the three different types of cross-site scripting. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please go ahead and click like. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and tell a friend. So until next time, stay savage.